harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. My guest today is calling in from the UK and her name is Ambia Nath. Did I get that right?
You did indeed, yes.
All right. Hey, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, what is it that you do over there on the other side of the pond, as you say?
Well, I'm a spiritual dating and relationship coach. So I help women, not excluding men, but mainly women, because that's who I seem to be attracting. So I help women to look inside their trauma in terms of what's been blocking them physically, mentally, emotionally, and stopping them from finding love. So from that, we basically stop them from endlessly dating, going from relationship to relationship, and find themselves, which is the most important thing.
Right.
Relationship.
That's really kind of cool, because kind of similar to some of the stuff that I do, right? It's not necessarily for that dating aspect of it, which is really kind of neat to just kind of focus in on that, because when we're creatures of habit, right? And we attract, what we believe and what we've experienced. So when you keep repeating the same thing over and over, and you want to try to get somebody different, somebody that is, say maybe more business oriented or more loving or more caring or whatever the case may be, it's like you keep attracting the same old thing all the time. And that goes true not only in relationships, but in business, in your health. What you focus on is what you get. So if you're focusing on getting the old thing again, what you always had, well, you're going to get it again. So I think that's really cool that you set it up that way to start breaking down those barriers.
Thank you. To reiterate what you've been saying in terms of the repeat patterns, it's not just about them attracting. It's once you understand why you're having that pattern, because it all comes back down to yourself.
Exactly.
You as a person. So once you understand what within you is causing that, then you can change that. But it's definitely not about 100% that I keep on focusing on it, so I'm going to keep attracting it. But it's more that, yes, if you keep focusing on it and not doing anything to change it,
right,
then you're going to keep attracting it, because you have to have the middle step to change it in order to change that pattern.
Have you found that in a lot of cases that people fear that change the most?
Oh my God. And again, I picked the niche of dating and relationships because I attracted a lot more people relating to those topics. But like yourself, when you're trained to coach, you can do anything, because the basics, the foundations are the same.
Right.
But then you just choose an aspect that you want to go into. And I noted, the amount of people when I used to work in the corporate world, and I worked in business change,
Mm-hmm.
Helping people to change their business, their process, and, why they were doing what they were doing. And even then, change was just such a huge block, because people are just so set in their comfort zones. They understand what they've got to do. They know why they do it. They know that if I do the X, Y, and Z, then this is the emotion I'm going to feel, either happiness or crap.
Exactly.
I know how to deal with that. But if you say to them, but let's feel a new emotion, they'll be like, oh, but that emotion might be more painful.
Exactly.
And I don't know if I want to do that, because they can't see beyond the pain. So
right.
Yes, change is a huge blocking. Yeah.
It is, and what you said just kind of really nailed it, because it's that comfort zone is predictability. And people like predictability, so that they know whether it's miserable or painful or whatever it is, they know what to expect out of it. And it's amazing, too, like you said. It's like yeah, but what if that's worse over there? You know,
Yeah.
and I always tell myself, what if it's better?
Exactly.
What if
But
you
we're
make
so
it better?
exactly. But we as humans are innate to think of the negative.
Yes.
Because because even if you have a wonderful day and one person does something that really sticks in your mind and
Yeah.
upsets you,
And then
that's what you
that's
will hold on to and forget that you've had the most fantastic week.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we are just built human, to be like that, and it's about noting that and changing it.
Was that recognizing, right? If you don't recognize where the change needs to happen, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen. And then, once
Yeah.
you recognize it, now you got to do something about it. And I think that's probably the hardest for people to do. And that's kind of why I use the theme that I do, being that best you that you can be, right?
Yeah.
Because every little step that you take, every little change that you make, helps you to become a so much better than you. It's not that you're a bad you. It's not that you're
No,
broken or anything. It's just that there's
exactly.
so much fulfillment in life. And it just
Exactly.
keeps getting better and better and better. And when you can have that mindset of something better, then
Yes.
that's what you get, right?
Exactly. And it's also being kind to yourself
Yeah.
so that that life and everything that comes into it is a work in progress. So it's not about aspiring to be a version of somebody you see for 5 minutes, because if
Right.
I look at Tony Robbins, I think, oh my God, he's amazing. He's got it all sorted. He's so positive. He's all this, he's all that.
Right.
But then I'm only seeing that snippet of his life. I'm not seeing what goes behind the scenes. I'm not seeing the stresses he has or the, stuff that he's been through in life to get to where he is and all of that. So it's, teaching people that everybody is human and you'll have your good days, you'll have your bad days, you'll have your moments where you're not your best self. But that's okay because what you're probably doing is going through that healing process
Right.
and it's allowing that to happen so that you can, grow and be better.
Yeah, and it's not that you're denying yourself, that, hey, somebody hurt you or you hurt yourself, you allowed that hurt to come in
Yeah.
and, you feel that pain, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Isolation or loneliness, you think people are judging you, not feeling like you're fitting in. There's
Yeah.
just so many of those feelings, and they're all repetition. They're all running around up here crazy in your head,
Exactly.
And so it's being able to recognize and separate those things, and
Mm.
separate the things that no longer serve you purpose, those things that you don't like, the things that you want to get away from, right?
Yeah.
And start adding the things that make you happy, that makes fun, that changes your life
Yeah.
for the better. And then
Exactly.
keep doing it over and over, and because we are creatures of habit, right? So the more
Exactly.
repetition that you can have, the easier it is to continue down that path, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And having that little bit of confidence and courage in yourself in taking that first step,
Right.
because a lot of it just comes back down to taking that first step and then just keep on going, little by little, take the next step, and not lose sight of that actually that this is working for me. Because I'm sure that when everybody takes on that journey of change, they're going to get, out of their comfort zone. And because they are changing their lives, there may be stuff in their lives that no longer work for them.
Right.
So it's about recognizing that and being okay to recognize and let go of it. So that might be relationships, that might be your job, that might be, family feuds or, other things or something, within yourself. And it's just going, okay, I'm ready to let go of this because it's no longer serving me. It's no longer giving me the happiness. Why
Right.
put up with unhappiness and stress, i.e., a job you're not happy with? Getting bullied at work or just needing it to pay the bills. Why not find another job where you can still pay the bills and be doing something that's not going to make you unhappy?
Yeah,
So
and that is so true. That,
it's having the courage to recognize that and take that forward.
Yeah, the courage, that's a key word,
Yeah.
because fear is so prevalent in every aspect of our lives. Fear of some form, right? So mustering up the courage to take that step for change. And again,
Yeah.
that fear of the unknown, what's over there, right? And it's like having the courage to say, I don't know, but I'm gonna go check it out, right?
Exactly, but I'm sure you've encountered it as well. It's not just fear of the unknown of what's to come in terms of things and stuff, but it's fear of what will people think?
Oh
What will,
yes.
what will my spouse think? What will my friends think? Or what will my work boss and, everybody think? And we kind of carry this guilt, constant guilt, because it's always about pleasing others and wanting to fit in and wanting to accept. But if you don't accept yourself and who you are and how you do things and your own happiness, then it's going to be hard for you to make change happen.
And it also is hard to accept that other person because it's not only that acceptance of yourself, but it's that honoring who you are and being who you are, walking the talk, as they say, right? And when my journey started back in the 70s, it was all about identity. And that's what we're talking here, is your personal identity.
Yeah.
And so you're identified by an association. you know you're so and so's mother, you're so and so's wife, you work at such and such place, you do this kind of business, you're the person that stands behind the counter at the grocery store, whatever it is. It's all association, but who is the real you? And to be
Yeah.
able to accept that other person, to be able to honor that other person out there and be a part of what's going on in life, it has to
Mm.
have that fulfillment here, because you can't give more out of yourself
Yeah.
than what you give to yourself, right?
Exactly. And yeah, touching on a little bit about my own story, I come from an Asian culture, Indian. Um, so, in terms of the identity part that you're talking about, I had to fight for my identity because within our culture, it's so innate that women have a certain role
Mm-hmm.
and men have a certain role. So to be a woman, not so much now because thinking and every times have moved on, but definitely in my time when I was young and a teenager and at college, it was very much that women have a certain role and that's the role you have to play. So if you wanted to be an independent businesswoman and have your own life and have your own house or, live independently, that was completely shunned upon. And I
Right.
had to fight to have the life that I have now. My nieces both have that life, but they didn't have to fight for it because I did all of that for them. And times, of course, have changed. But yeah, but it wasn't acceptable. So I had to fight for that identity, and I had to fight for my identity to be recognized because they saw me as I was growing up. I was two personalities. So I was the semi-submissive being at home because I was trying to fit in and just go with the flow of what,
Right.
hopefully was expected and, you do. And then outside in my work, I was this independent, who I am today, independent woman. I'm doing my thing. I'm succeeding. I'm, highly recognized and all of that. And the two, and there were clashes within the two because when I tried to be the same person I was at work at home, I was being verbally, not abusively, but verbally brought down
Right.
um, because you're a woman. So you have a role, and that role is you get educated, you get married, and then you follow whatever your husband wants to do. You're not meant to have your own dreams and, things to do. And, you're meant to have children and babies, and that's your life, and that's what we recognize. And I'm
Right.
going, I want that, but I want it my way. Don't get me wrong, I want all of that, but I want it my way, not your way. And that's where the clashes happened. And yeah, and that's all to do with identity. People not recognizing others or honoring, as you use the word, but because they don't know how to. They don't know because that's not what they've been used to. That's not
Yeah,
what they
exactly. It's that culture belief, right? This is the way it's done for all these years, so therefore it's going to continue, for the rest of the time, right? And it's like,
exactly,
yeah,
because it works. Why, it might work and people are miserable and people are unhappy and they won't admit to it and they're just putting up with one another because that's the way it is.
right.
But that's the way it is. That's life. And we settle for unhappiness. We settle for crap. We settle for that. So you should have it too. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Who do you think you are? You going to get out of here and the rest of us stay back here? Oh, no way.
but I'm going, but I want that, but I want it with happiness.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't want it with the misery. I want it with a happiness. And then no, that doesn't ring a bell. We don't recognize that.
That's not familiar,
not-
right? That's not the
yeah,
norm.
that's not normal. So
Yeah.
therefore, we need to put you into the same pigeonhole we recognize, and not in your own pigeonhole that you want to create. So yeah, so it's a huge
Yeah.
thing
And,
about
it is still happening today, no matter where you are. It doesn't, all around the world, it doesn't matter what country it is, that same thought pattern, that same old belief still comes up in a lot of arenas, in different cultures and everything, because again, it's like that possession. Women were always thought of being a possession of
Yeah.
someone, right? And it's like, wait a minute, everyone is an individual, right? And so to step out of that box and say, that's not me, not going down that road. It's like, what do you mean you're not going down that road?
Yeah.
Everybody goes down that road. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Completely. Yeah.
And so, it's interesting, when you meet someone, like yourself, and in the culture changes and stuff like that. It just says the buck stops here, right? And that's so true on many avenues, when it comes to where your beliefs are and what you want out of life. Because I know when I started my journey, all the dreams that I had and where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be doing, what was going on in my life, wasn't happening. And
Yeah.
it's like, this ain't right. I ain't doing this, right?
Yeah.
I want out of this, right? And I chose a battle, and I think we all choose our own battles. It's like, I'm making a difference. I'm not doing this. I'm going for that.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to get that,
Yeah.
but I was going anyway, right?
Yeah.
And that's the fun of the journey. That's the. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, I completely agree with you. And being a spiritual coach, I am all about, the energy in your intuition.
Yeah.
It's about learning to open up and trust that, because even at a young age, I knew certain things in my life that I wanted. One, which I said to you regarding the cultural battle, that I wanted to be this independent, woman and have my own
Right.
business, stuff like that. I knew that. I knew that I wanted my own business. I knew that I was passionate in terms of understanding people and wanting to make a difference and have a voice, and share things and help to change lives. So all of those things I knew, regardless of the role I was expected and being, what's the word, coached to, be. So
Right.
I basically, expected that this is the way, we're going to help you to grow up, that you're going to be this woman who's going to have 2 babies and, picket fence and a miserable life and whatever, but that's okay. And you want to go a different direction. And that's because something within me, my
Right.
being, my soul, my whatever you want to call it, knew that actually my life was going to be very much more different than that. So it's a lot to do with, and that's where the courage comes in, because in order for me to get to that, I had to go through a lot,
Right.
and letting go of convincing, of accepting, of just changing patterns, and a lot of that came from me, because I was learning to be a coach. I was training. I wasn't learning. I was training to be a coach. So that helped a lot. But where I used to always sit there going, but why don't they see me? But why don't they see me? But why don't they see me? How do they not recognize me? Why?
Right.
All of a sudden, I started to realize that the only person who needs to change is me.
That's right.
I don't need to change them. I don't need to change them to accept me for who I am. I need to accept me for who I am. And once I did that, then with time, and I will say it was a long time, it wasn't a overnight, yes way, flags waving and everything. Um, it was a long time, but
Sure.
I allowed them to accept me when they were ready. I didn't put a timeline on it. I didn't, ask for forgiveness. I didn't say you should because I think you should. I just honored
Right.
that if you're not happy with me, you don't want to be with me, that's fine. But this is who I am, and I'm not going to be something else so that you feel happy within yourself.
And
So,
that is well said, because so many people go through life living life the way they think other people want them to be. And again, it goes back into that acceptance, right? Oh, what are they going to think of me? They're not going to like me.
yeah,
I'm wrong. They're right, but that's not. There's no wrong. There's no right. There's your
yeah,
is, right, and to be able to just go through that and honor, like you said, you're honoring yourself, and
mm,
eventually, but sometimes not. But it's okay, because that's their life and this is yours.
yeah,
And you don't have to like my life,
no,
but I do, and
yeah,
I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to
exactly,
tell you how to run yours, so don't tell
yeah,
me how to run mine, right?
exactly, yeah,
And so there's, there can be battle and conflict and everything, especially when it comes to family, right?
mm,
And not having that support. And I think that's one of the biggest things why people don't really go out there and go for the goal for all of it, is
mm,
because they're looked and frowned down upon, and they don't want to lose that connection. They don't want that isolation. They don't want to feel like nobody loves me, nobody likes me,
yeah,
right? And it starts in here. But it
yeah,
does change. It does change, because when you put your foot down and you say, this is where I'm going, and I'm
mm,
going to go with or without you. It's like change, right? Change's going with or without you. Are you going with it, or are you going without
yeah,
it, right?
exactly,
So, and it can be difficult. That struggle
yeah,
can be difficult, because there's a lot of things that shift and change, and does it hurt, but
mm,
it's, again, what do you value for yourself, right?
mm,
And again, it's that courage to overcome those obstacles, and
yeah,
being that best you that you can be. I share with my clients a lot of times too, it doesn't matter what others think of you, it matters what you think of you,
yeah,
right? And
exactly,
there's, I promise you, there's somebody out there, there's lots of somebodies out there that are going to love you. The world is filled with billions of people, right?
exactly,
So
yeah,
you will find someone that's
yeah,
going to accept and admire and even support what you do. But if
yeah,
you're worried about, the people that are closest to you, and the ones that that are going to do that, ain't gonna happen. When they see you out there in that world, and others accepting you, and you're doing your passion and everything, now they start to get a little envious and a little jealous, and it's like, oh man, I should have done that a long time ago. I should have done something like this, right? Then the regrets come up, but
exactly.
it's interesting. You have both sides of that fence, and what's happening, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it is about, for me, I went through one route because of, my circumstances, family, the way, beliefs and everything existed at that time.
Right.
But, but other people can carry that support. And it doesn't mean that just because they're going to change something, that they're going to lose what they already have existed.
Right.
It just means that they're going to create better,
Right.
because they can take the people with them. I know I have a wonderful dear friend I love to bits, and with her, she's changing her life, her beliefs, she's growing, finding out more about herself and all of that. And with that, she's carrying her family through the journey. They're fully embracing it and going, yes, because, they're also positive and believe in change and things like that. So I don't want to paint a picture to people to think that change automatically means loss and loneliness and that you're not going
Right,
to
exactly.
have everything. It can just be that you fear actually just speaking up, to somebody, your family, your spouse, whoever it may be, regarding something, because you in yourself are fearing what they're going to, how they're going to react. But they may surprise you. They may actually say, you know what? I hadn't thought of that. Or why didn't you say that? I just assumed you liked this. And sometimes it's the fear we carry within ourselves than rather than what reality actually is.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, fully recognizing that it's not all about the bad things. It's could also be very good as well.
And that is so true, what you just said there. Because it is, we don't want to paint that picture that it's always a loss. It's not,
Yeah,
because there are plenty of people out there who do support you. And when you can get the support of a spouse or family member and stuff, it just gives you that warm fuzzy all over. But we go through life so much assuming, and that is such a harsh word. When you take it apart and you take the
yeah,
spelling of assume,
yeah,
the
yeah,
ASS, right? Okay, we know what that is.
yeah. You
And
and
then you
me.
got the you, and then you got the me, right? So you make an ass out of you and me, right? So
Right.
don't be afraid to speak up. And I think that's where it all starts, is that courage. Take that courage to just
Yeah,
speak what it
yeah,
is, what you want, and
yeah,
don't be concerned about the other person's reaction, because life
yeah,
is built on action, reaction, right? And
yeah,
cause and effect. That's just the law of energy. That's the law of energy. But if you're presuming, if you think you know how they're going to respond, you're really missing the whole point,
yeah.
right? And you will attract that response if that's what you're focusing and
Exactly.
fearing on,
Yeah, I
right?
was just going to say that because you will be attracting that fear because that's the energy they're picking up from. So if you,
Right.
on a simple terms, to explain energy for people who don't, aren't about energy and things like that, it's like when you meet a new dog, a dog is absolutely so excited to meet you. And
Right.
they're coming up to you, they want to get to know you, they're wagging their tails, everything. But if you have a fear of a dog, that dog picks up on your fear,
That's
but
right.
doesn't understand that you're scared of it. All they understand is, why don't you love me? I just want to love you. Why are you not loving me? And because you're fearing the dog's constantly coming to you, but not going to the people who don't fear him. And that's all to do with energy. So you're attracting what you're fearing, but sometimes reading it wrong. Because for years I used to have a fear of dogs. Now I absolutely adore dogs. And that was because I never understood their energy.
Right.
I never understood that they were coming to me with love. And I was walking away from them because I was scared that they were going to, attack me or,
Yeah, because they
bite
just
me
come
or
running right at you, and that, yeah,
exactly. And I'm going,
yeah,
oh my God, he's
yeah.
going to
You're
bite
it's a
me.
response. It's automatic. Like, oh
Exactly.
no.
But that's me. That
Yeah.
was my belief, and that was my experience of things. So it's putting yourself, in a different perspective, because sometimes the perspective you've been carrying for years may not be the right one, and it's recognizing that,
Right.
and and changing that and going, actually, I never had anything to fear, and that's what being the best you and talking to people and having a voice is really all about. It's about you recognizing that sometimes, and a lot of the times, it's your own fear that stops it. And if you fear it, then others will have that control over you. Not in a bad way, I don't mean it in an abusive way. I just mean it in the way of the comfort that they're used to seeing you in a
Right.
certain role. Um, and until you change that about yourself, then they're not going to recognize, the other person. My family were used to, she doesn't speak up, she doesn't really express, what she's thinking. Now they're thinking all she does is express what she's thinking.
She got a mouth and it doesn't shut up, right?
This is not what we thought you were. So yeah, and so that's because I used to fear what they would think.
Right.
I used to fear them going, oh my God, what are they going to think when I say that I want to actually move away and have my own home and not live with them? Because again, it was a shunned upon thing, but that was me constantly giving into things they were comfortable with.
Right.
Because I tried, and a few times I was, knocked back. I wouldn't say knocked back in the sense of, no, it's not going to happen for you. That kind of knocked back. And then I just went, oh, okay, fine. I can't do it. And then, you try again, and they're like, no, you can't. You can't have that life. It's not a life we recognize. So no, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You're going to go, okay. And then finally one day you get the courage and you go, no, I'm going to do it. You don't have to like it. I'm going to do it. And they're like, okay, we didn't expect that voice to come out. Because that voice came with conviction.
Right.
And because you are within yourself confident and committed, sorry, that was the word I was looking for when I went silent, and because you are committed to doing it, that power that other people have for you goes away, because they're kind of like, oh, well, okay, she's made that decision, so what are we going to do?
Right, we ain't going to change your mind now because she
Exactly.
she really means it this time, right?
Exactly.
And that's
Right.
that is so true about that body language, about the tone of your voice and how you project it, And if you're just this little muffin, you say, well, I think I'm going to go move out. And you say, yeah, right. Or you say, this day I'm moving out. I got a place. I'm going, and they're like, oh, what do you mean? Well, I said I was going to do it. Well, I'm doing it. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So that change has to happen. And again, people will eventually come around. And if they don't, it's not your problem, because you can't change their perspective or their belief, and you just have to honor that. And honoring can be a really tough thing sometimes, because a person doesn't have to like you to love you. And it's not that they don't like you.
Yeah.
They don't like what you just did that made them feel like this. That was
Exactly.
probably one of the biggest aha moments that I had, when I began to realize all the anger that I had built up and was just inundated with, that I had shoved and stuffed inside of me, that I had towards my father, right? And when I started just letting that anger out, all of a sudden I realized, I don't hate my dad. I'm not angry at my dad. I'm angry at the action that he took that caused me to react this way.
Yeah.
Now I'm really mad at myself because I responded that way, So it comes back onto the self, and it's like, oh man, but it again, when you start to have those aha moments and those recognitions, it is about the self, because it all gets put in here in how you perceive everything, and then how you internalize it, and that message, that internal voice, then that database that you stored, is what you're going to react to. So that's your actions and reactions. Exactly. And then when you say, whoa, this reaction's coming out, I'm not going to do it that way, I'm going to do it this way instead, you become unpredictable, and people say, who is she?
Yeah.
That's not who I know. That's somebody different, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because they're not used to that new behavior.
Right.
And that's why working with people like you and I, coaches, is the best way of really recognizes, because we have the tools and skills, as we've been homing them for years and years,
right.
From studying, from coaching, from talking to people, observing, all of those things, that we're able to quickly pinpoint. Because I have to be honest, that before I trained as a coach, which was nearly 2 decades ago, all of this kind of thing would have been alien to me. What do you mean by body language? What do you mean by
right.
words. What do you mean I have to monitor my thought process? Why do I need to monitor my thought process? There's nothing wrong with my thoughts. Self-belief, and there's nothing wrong with my self-belief, and my comfort zone, and all of those words that we recognize as coaches, and boundaries and tolerances, and how we train people and how we treat people, all of that kind of thing is not the norm that people recognize.
Right.
Because unless you've been through this, as a coach, either in training or worked with a coach, for a normal human being, you're not going to know what your boundaries are, what your tolerances are, or the fact that you are allowing people to, carrying on belittling you, or take advantage of you, or mistrust you, or all of those kinds of things. Because for you, you're just living your life, but you're not understanding why certain things are happening for you.
Right.
Why is he talking to me in this tone? Why do my children not respect me, and why do my parents not give me what I want, and stuff like that? And it's that realization of, oh, actually, okay, maybe I'm not actually speaking up for myself. Maybe I'm not actually laying the boundaries for how people should treat me and respect me. Maybe I'm not respecting myself, and that's a reflection coming back on
Right.
me.
Right.
So it's all about that. When you do the inner work, it comes down to, you need to understand yourself first to be able to change anything else that's going to happen in your life. Because apart from the materialistic things and the things of environment, which you have control of, that you can go and change. Okay, I'm not happy with this house, so I'll go and move into another house. Great, you can do that. But anything that's around people, that requires you to really understand yourself more.
Yeah, and that is so true, because you become that reflection of who you are, and
Yeah.
it does start here. So when you change the world within who you are, the
Yeah.
world out here changes. It has to. That's just
Yeah.
the law of energy, right?
Yeah.
So
And
go
sorry, I
ahead.
was just going to interrupt and say, and it's honoring the time of that change overall. So
Right.
you change, but you then have to honor other people to change when they want to, rather than take that assumption that just because I've changed and I'm this way, that my
Right.
family now has to accept me. It took my family from the first time to the last sibling to completely accept me 10 years. And each one throughout those 10 years, had a different timeline to accepting me.
Sure.
But I didn't change who I was or what I did, and I never asked for forgiveness. But I respected and honored their time. I never abused them. I never lashed out at them. I never asked for their forgiveness. But I was just me. And I did, what I did. So the people who were giving me love, I was giving them love. The people who weren't ready to give me love, I gave them respect and courtesy. And it's that, that also honors who you are, because they see that actually this person isn't bad. She just wanted a different life.
Right.
She's not hurting me. She's not destroying my life. She's not, doing anything that's injuring me or whatever. All she is doing is being just living. So it's very important for people to kind of realize that within their journey, if they are changing and people aren't changing at the same speed as them, that they honor that and be okay with that, and not get resentful, and not get angry, and not get
Exactly.
blamey of, well, you should be just because I am, and you don't understand me because, blah, de, blah. Because, yeah, you're just basically being them.
That is
Yeah.
that's really great. That's such a deep thought and a deep feeling, but a deep truth. Again, allowing that other person to work their changes on their time, not your time, because you're making your changes on your time, and
Yeah.
they're going to have to make their changes on their time, and you just keep on going, and
Yeah.
eventually they will. But if they don't, it's okay.
Exactly.
Right.
They will, but they
And
won't.
so
That's okay.
it does boil down to, I honor and respect me, so therefore I honor and respect you. And sometimes that can be a challenge as well. But when you start doing it, and it is about the self, so the discovery of the self. So, oh my gosh, young lady, this has been wonderful. You know, I am so glad that you came on here and just discussing this. I mean, this is something that's so dear to my heart as well. And just listening to other coaches and other people just talk about some of the same things. You know, you have little different nuggets that come out and the expressions and stuff. And it's beautiful. Your story is beautiful, you know. And, you know, so if you guys are listening out there and what she said has made a difference, or if you want to pick up a little bit more, you want to know more about what she does and maybe what she can do to help you in these relationships and maybe overcome some obstacles that are in the way, reach out, private message her. She's here. She's right here on screen waiting for you to say, okay, let's have a conversation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm all about the interaction. Yeah.
So, well, thank you, my dear. It's time to say, go out there and be that best you that you can be, because we all here are going to be the best we that we can be. Go out there, make it a great day, and we'll see you all in the next show. What?